Pleasure to call to order this public hearing on the matter of the Village of Cache Creek zoning amendment bylaw 6-008-2024. At this public hearing, the public will be allowed to make presentations to council. All persons participating who believe their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. We'll first hear from those persons who have requested in writing to address council regarding this issue. We'll then ask general public participating in person or online if there's any person who wishes to speak on the proposed bylaw. Any questions or concerns by those viewing online must be typed in on Facebook Live site, beginning with the first and last names of the person making the submission. You may then give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It's not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views heard. Any written question, comment, or concern about the proposed bylaw received prior to 12 noon, Monday, November 4th, will be read out at the public hearing. Late submissions may be heard if council passes a motion to do so. To maintain order during the public hearing and to ensure everyone has a reasonable opportunity to be heard, the following rules of procedures have been established for public hearings. Only the Village of Cache Creek zoning amendment bylaw 6-008-2024 is being considered at this meeting. Each speaker will be permitted to address the hearing twice. Initial presentations will not be limited, providing your comments are relevant to the issues at hand and the hearing is not being obstructed. After each person who wishes to speak has done so, a second opportunity to speak will be allowed. However, each speaker will be limited to 10 minutes. If further hearings are required, we'll reconvene additional hearings until each person has had an opportunity to be heard. To begin your presentation, please state your first and last names for the record. Your name and comments will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and any reports generated from this meeting. Please observe these rules. If you have any concerns with the manner in which the public hearing is conducted, please direct your comments to the chair. The corporate officer will now read out any written question, comment, or concern submitted by the deadline.
Zero written comments.
Zero written comments. If there are any online participants who wish to address the public hearing, the Hub Online will now read them out.
I have nothing online.
Okay, thank you. So we have the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed bylaw?
You can do your spiel.
Well, yeah. The form was in writing there. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Anybody else?
No, I agree with him. Well, he wants it. It's to his benefit.
That's all good. Okay, before closing the public hearing, I'll call 3 times for any further speakers on any matters contained in the proposed bylaws. Those who have previously spoken twice during the public hearing may not speak again unless there's something new they wish to speak about. For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? For the second time, anyone wishes to make any further representations? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representations? Seeing none, there being no further speakers, I declare the public hearing closed. Now, it's my pleasure to call to order the regular council meeting of the Village of Cache Creek this November 4th, 2024. We have, do we have any delegations? No delegations. We have the minutes of the October 21st regular council meeting on pages 1 to 6 of the agenda. Could I have a motion to adopt as circulated?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There having been no delegations, there won't be any business arising from them. So is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we have committee reports, economic development, Councillor Dubois. Maybe he's muted. Are you muted, Dave?
He is.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Budget and administrative services. I also have nothing to report. We've still got money in the bank. Bylaw and policy review, Councillor Ranta.
We have a few items, so we'll begin with item number 1. And I'll move the recommended motion that the minutes of the Policy and Bylaw Committee meeting held on October 21st, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The next item, item 2, is policy number 8G-4, distribution of contract hours, and the policy committee is recommending that this policy be rescinded. It's in order to facilitate kind of the tidying up of the processes. Because the policy is from 2003, I think that there's we feel that the policy should be rescinded because it doesn't reflect current practice, and also because it's a function of staff to ensure that these processes are in place, and so we're recommending it for being rescinded. And I don't, maybe CAO Couture has additional information that might help explain.
This and another policy G2, are almost exactly the same in terms of wording, but G2 has been updated over time, G4 has not. So G2 is more consistent with regular practices, as we said. I think that it was an error in the past, a duplication of pretty much the same policy. So G2 would make sense to keep and make no changes at this time, maybe in the future. But then G4 doesn't make sense because it has contrary language, just two policies that cover the same thing and they say different words.
Thank you.
So I move that council rescind policy G-4, distribution of contract hours.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Item 3 is a new policy that we're proposing. It's a draft policy G-1, and I'll move that council approve draft policy G-1 as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? Councillor Ranta?
Just to explain this policy, the purpose of the policy is to give direction regarding the request the village office receives for donations to charity functions and things like that, and it just helps guide that work so that there's transparency in the organization and control over spending. So that's the purpose.
The original policy that this is a revision of only handled the pins.
Yeah.
And we have very few requests for those now, and we're in the process of working towards having some branded merchandise available for sale, and so that would cover everything that we have instead of just having the pins listed.
Yeah. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And the next one is item 4. And I'll move that council approve draft policy G-5 as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? Councillor Ranta?
Okay. This is a new policy that is proposed to have a policy for the reader board requests for posting information, and so that there's kind of guidelines and expectations about how the reader board will be used moving forward.
discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And then lastly, I'll move that council gives second and third readings to bylaw number 6-008, zoning amendment 2024.
Discussion? There hasn't been just a awful lot of concern expressed about this. So, I think.
Arenta,
Yes, Dave?
do we have an understanding of what they are going to be using for storage solutions? Is this gonna be a whole bunch of containers that are gonna be placed on that lot, or are they gonna be building custom buildings?
Yeah, we have Mr. Elliott here in the gallery. He's asking to respond to that question, which has been approved.
Yes, so my plan would be very similar to right across the street. At this point, I don't anticipate building a building. It would be it'd be fenced with sea cans.
When we get clarification where this is, I thought this was kind of right next to where the new Tim Hortons is, but I get the sense that that's maybe not the case.
Well, it is.
It is, yeah, it's very close. It's access off BX Road.
Nobody knows where this piece of land is.
Yeah, that's right. But it's on the left side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right beside the old trade winds. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
behind the apartment building, that's,
Yeah, yeah.
right behind it, yeah.
I'm just gonna put it up on the screen.
Where the old Fortis building was, isn't it, or DC Gas?
Well, that's
Oh,
actually, this is a different piece.
Oh,
This is
okay.
the other one, yeah.
So the area is in this area here. And this spot here is the old Esso property.
Okay, and what, I'm curious, Mr. Elliott mentioned that there's containers across the street. I'm not quite sure where he's referring to.
Oh, across the street from our office.
Okay, all right. I'm a little concerned that we're going to be having a large display of containers kind of right in our highly visible as people are coming into our community. Do we currently have a bylaw in regards to the usage of containers in our community? I don't think we do, correct?
We do not know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ranta.
So I'll ask a question. So right now it's bare land, right?
Correct.
And like, I understand how maybe we don't want containers right beside a new business. However, I think it is in itself a business, and I think we need to support business. The other thing I think also is that it's better to have a tidy business that has fencing and that has containers or other items that is well maintained versus bare land that's prone to getting weeds and
It is.
just garbage and is always looking unkempt and undeveloped. And I think that we have too many vacant bare spaces that just kind of go to waste in town. And I think that that if you know, with our new bylaw officer, I think that the town is going to improve in how it's maintained, and I think this is a positive thing to support.
Yeah, certainly, assuming that Mr. Elliott is going to maintain the new proposed site in a similar fashion to the one across the street, which has always been maintained meticulously, I think it'll be an asset in the community. So, is there any further discussion? You got room for my car in one of those? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. So that takes us through the
Opposed.
second and third reading.
You oppose?
Councillor
Yeah,
Dubois.
Okay.
Councillor Dubois is opposed. Okay, on to Public Works, Councillor Deaver.
So we have a few items on here, bench replacement. Council to discuss the possibility of moving the fair bench from the park corner of Stage and Arrow Drive to replace the wooden bench that is there currently. The second part of the discussion, council may wish to consider moving a second time around bench from storage to the intersection of Stage Road and Lopez Creek Drive to replace the wooden bench there. This is the location where the students that catch a bus at the church, they use the bench in the morning and later on.
So,
Recommendation, council directs staff to move the fair bench from the park to the corner of Stage Road, Arrow Drive, to replace the wooden bench that is currently there, and or that council directs staff to move the second time around bench from storage to replace the wooden bench at the corner of Stage and Lopez.
Second.
so we'll consider that an and.
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? Councillor Rand?
I'll go first. Okay, so, when the election was running in 2022, the Fair family, I just happened to be talking to Glenn Fair, and he was requesting that the bench that was moved from the, golf course, his family bench, by the pool right now, just kind of sitting there, not really installed. He was requesting that the bench be permanently installed in a better location that was appropriate in a proper way. And, anyway, I think this location that we're proposing, would be a good one. It's in view, you can actually see the golf course from the location or the former golf course, and it's kind of in proximity to where Ferris lived. I think it's quite a good location. And when I talked to Glenn, he wasn't too picky about where in town it goes. Also the bench, the wooden bench is getting a little rugged looking. It's there and it's the same size. I think it would just be great there. And then just speaking to the other bench, I noticed that the wooden benches don't hold up as well as the more permanent ones. So I think replacing the one up by the school bus area up at the top of the hill would also be great. We've got it would improve the look of the town to not have kind of wooden benches deteriorating, and it just makes a lot of sense to install a bench rather than have it in storage. So I'm in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Peters?
Yeah, the Herb Hofer memorial bench was placed in, to replace one of the wooden ones that was there, and I drive by it every day and it looks really good. So I think that's a great continuation of that.
Thank you. Administrator Co-Chair.
Yeah, when Councillor Venta brought it forward to discuss the fair bench, one of the staff recalled that we have them in storage and thought, hey, would it make sense? And we had been hearing not concerns or complaints, but just that a lot of students gather at the one up at the top. So we thought that that one made sense for the one that we have in storage. That leaves, along that route, that just leaves the one at the corner of Stage and Courts as a wooden bench, and then all of them, the way up, would be replaced. We don't have another one in storage, otherwise there would have been another recommendation, but just something to bear in mind for the future.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Emergency Management, Councillor Peters.
Just healthcare and protective services.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
And-
Healthcare and Protective Services, Councillor Ranta.
Do I need to excuse myself for that one?
To recall,
Okay,
probably.
my daughter is the assistant fire chief, so I will excuse myself.
Okay. I'll take that one.
We still have a quorum.
Right. Okay, so the item is that council discuss adding a Class A uniform for the fire chief from the village budget, and I move that council approve the purchase of a Class A uniform for the fire chief on the election of a new chief, or every 5 years if the chief should serve that long, to a maximum, I'm adding, to a maximum of $1,500, and that this also be referred to policy committee for inclusion in policy.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Discussion. Councillor Ranta.
The reason I'm proposing this is that, in small communities, and I know particularly in our community, I think we sometimes take the fire department for granted. And I think that, hearing that the current fire chief had to pay for his own dress uniform when I asked him at the recent, dinner that occurred, I thought that was a little bit unfair because, we depend on the fire department for so much every single day in our community. And just imagine a world where we didn't have the fire department in Cache Creek. Imagine how that would change our safety, our personal safety, the safety of our homes and family, the safety of our jointly owned properties in the village. And this is a gesture that I think supports the fire department. I was a little alarmed that we weren't already doing it. That's the past. I think that given the volunteerism is on the decline in Canada, and especially in rural communities, and that we want our fire department to feel as honored and valued as possible. I think that this is a small gesture that we should do. It also is a matter of community pride for when our fire department is at things like Remembrance Day coming up or other events that fire chiefs go to. I think that it's extremely important to at least keep up with the other communities where the fire chiefs are provided with a dress uniform. So that's why I'm making this motion.
Thank you. And anytime I've seen Tom Moe dressed in his whatever it is, Class A uniform out in the community, it does really make you feel proud to see him because he just glistens with that uniform on. And so I'll certainly be supporting this motion. I've been a fan of the fire department for many, many years. It probably started many years ago when there used to be 3 trade wind departments down there. You would have been a fireman at the time, I'm sure. And the 2 of them burned, but they saved the 3rd one, which was a miraculous thing to achieve considering the intensity of the fire. And not only that, they've done numerous responses to events in the community, so I fully support this motion and the fire department generally. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Councillor Peters, emergency management.
Nothing to report.
By remote control.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Councillor Ranta.
We don't have anything to report.
Thank you. Landfill Advisory Committee, there's the post-closure cost care statement on page 14. I would move that we receive and file the cost care statement for the period ending September 30th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. TNRD and Intergovernmental Liaison. I think I mentioned at the last meeting the 50th anniversary of the library system. I went to that. I think it was from 3 to 7. I went down there at about 5, and the librarian told me it was packed earlier, but I missed the crowd or something. And so I hung around from 5 until 7, and it was interesting, but there weren't many people showed up after 5. And there's a meeting coming up, a committee of the whole meeting at Kamloops on the 6th, and TNRD meeting on the 7th as well. And at the committee of the whole, they'll be considering the budget for 2025 to 2029. Cache Creek Community Fund, Councillor Dubois.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that council donate $750 to the Ashcrofton Area Community Resource Society Christmas Hamper Fund.
I'll
Discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried, thank you. Now we're into, oh, pardon me, yes?
Sorry, I just have a couple of other items that I wanted to mention. On Saturday, Councillor Peters and I had the opportunity to attend the Gold Country Excellence Awards, and I'd just like to report that the Village of Cache Creek Park won an honorable mention for park spaces, as well as that the Graffiti Days won Best Festival. I think, if I see right, I think Councillor Sue has, our councillor has the awards there.
You stole my thunder, Dave.
Sorry.
Anything else under Cache Creek Community Fund?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. On then to staff reports, the 2024 Q3 net landfill royalty on page 16. I would ask for a motion that we receive and file the report from CFO Martini regarding the net landfill royalties.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? It looks like there's a possibility we, carry on, Dave.
I was just gonna wonder, I noticed that there seems like each quarter it seems to be increasing by about 25%.
Yeah.
Is that something we're anticipating is gonna be able to carry on for the next little while as they increase their tonnage, or is this something just kind of a blip for this particular year?
Well, I think Mr. Black works very hard to try and identify additional tonnages coming to the Cache Creek landfill. And so I'm anticipating his success will continue. And it looks to me, looking at the report, as if we might possibly hit $500,000 this year in royalty revenues. I certainly hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Administrator Pritchard.
Just a note, I learned myself not too long ago that landfill industry has kind of ebbs and flows. At different times of year, they have different amounts of material come into place. So there may be a bit of a drop, just depending on the time of year. But things are trending upwards still.
Usually January is the start of the downtrend.
Yeah.
Thank you. So on the motion to receive and file the report, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw quarterly report.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Infrastructure planning grant. I would ask for a motion that the Village of Cache Creek support the application for funding to develop a recreation plan for Cache Creek.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. October 2024 payments made by the village office. I would move that we receive and file the report from CFO Martini.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There being no information correspondence on the agenda, is there any new business? Councillor Peters.
I would just like to say that Councillor Dubois brought up Graffiti Days and the Village of Cache Creek, but Cache Creek was well represented at the Excellence in Gold Country Awards, and the Cache Creek Market got an honorable mention for the weekly community market. For a full-serve restaurant, Cheryl's Place got the award for a festival event. Graffiti Days, quick serve restaurants, Hungry Herbie's, and local shopping experience honorable mention was Marley's Inn. So Cache Creek was well represented.
Good. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of those.
Thank you. Any other new business? Seeing none, any questions from the public? Is that zippered up or what?
No question.
Thank you. Questions from the press?
I have nothing.
Thank you. We have need of a closed meeting pursuant to section 90.1 and 90.2 of the community charter. And I would ask for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried.